Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. Clear my throat. My name is Matt. We do beer stuff here. Massive Beer Review Classics, we'll call this one. Because I've reviewed this. I've had this beer several times. It's been several years since I've had it. But it's one of the original OG beers that I reviewed. Let's say it was number one. I have it up 177. It's 177th beer I reviewed on my channel. Dogfish Head. Raison the Extra. So, I can't tell you the last time I had this beer. Can't tell you the last time I had a Danger Cap beer. No, that's wrong. Danger Cap I had, I think it was one of the barrel-aged, worldwide it might have been, or barrel-aged 120. Anyway, I have not had this in ages. I went so far as to go back and watch my review, and I was fine with it. It's a Belgian dark with raisins. That's a shtick. And that was like, you know, that's what I grew up on. That's what I had cut my teeth on beer-wise, is Belgian stuff. And it just came off a little bit, I don't know, less for me, for lack of a better description. I didn't mind it. But one of the things that I kind of told my future self after watching it was, I want to stuff a couple of these into the basement and see how they age. I reviewed it in 2015. The bottle I reviewed is 2014, so it was a year old. This is a 2018. I found these on the shelf today in New Jersey, a 4-pack of it, and I was just like, you know what? I need to dive into this, because I think a couple people, viewers, and refresh my memory if you're this person, I think a couple times over the past year, a couple people have been like, oh, I'm sipping on a Raison the Extra, or, oh man, you should review Raison the Extra. I think that comment has come into my universe in some way, so it's all just here, and we're going to do it, so let's dive into it. So it was bottled on 12/13, 2018. Actually, 2019, 2018 bottles here. I should have just mixed them together so I could have both vintages, do a side by side. But anyway, so we're almost exactly at 3 years on this sucker. Or 3 years, sorry, 5 years on this sucker. It says Raison the Extra, brewed with an obscene amount of malt, brown sugar, and raisins. Ages well. Dogfish Head stuff over there. Dogfish Head stuff over there. Done and done. Got a little bit of a Merc ring going on. Label-wise, I can dig on it. What's my favorite? I'm trying to think what my favorite Dogfish Head label is. Give me a hiss. Yeah, that's what we want to hear. It might be old school, actually. So, we'll see what's what. So we got a nice hiss on it, so I'm assuming we do have a decent amount of carbonation left in this sucker. And label, like I said, dig on it. I can get down with it. And beer-wise, and again, it's classified as a Belgian strong dark. It's very light for Belgian dark for me. It comes off more like English barley wine in color. You can get Belgian darks in this kind of coloration, but especially thinking that it has this amount of time on it, that it has that 5 years on it, you'd expect it to be a little bit darker. But yeah, it looks the part of a nice, rich, dark double, or brown ale. Let's put it that way, Belgian brown. Khaki-colored head. Turbid as turbid could be. Can't really get much light to it if you hold it up. So yeah, let's see if we get a nose. That smells pretty damn good. Very much cognac-y vibes going up in this piece. You know, you get the raisin in there, you get that brown sugar, you get this rich kind of maltiness. It's all kind of worked its way towards that figgy daddy sugar daddy thing a lot of these beers tend to go towards. I think that combination of that brown sugar acting as what I assume is their Belgian candied sugar, and that raisin has brought that little bit more of a fruity kind of wine, like cognac-y vibe to it. It's not barrel aged, but it's definitely high ABV. I don't think they put the ABV. Dogfish Head used to put them on, but they didn't, and you know, their danger caps can fluctuate in ABV. I think this beer has been as high in the 18s, but as low as 15, but I think the 15 is the absolute cutoff for having this, you know, fluorescent danger cap on there. So it's definitely of high ABV, but it just has this cool kind of like port winey, slight, not sour and tart or anything, but port-esque kind of cognac-y liquor kind of vibe to it. Almost like a little Utopia-esque, to be perfectly honest with you. It kind of makes it come full circle with the merger between Boston Beer Company and Dogfish Head, or I should rephrase that, Boston Beer Company buying Dogfish Head. So it has this rich raisin portion of the show. Not raisinette. There's not a big chocolate component here. It's more raisiny, raisin caramel, raisin brown sugar. But then it has that little bit of just that little Belgian-y vibe to it. The way the malt, the way the yeast kind of combine to have this little bit more, maybe a slightly bready component, like a figgy pudding kind of thing going on here, in a very fun way. I'm excited to dive in, so we're just going to do it. Cheers, y'all. That's delicious. That is absolutely 100% delicious. The aftertaste on this is bonkers. Absolutely bonkers good. So I see it. I have my old review up here, and I see the details that I have up there. Who knows how accurate they are. It says 18% alcohol by volume. I don't know if that's the case for this beer, but could be. It's one of those. This is one of those times where it's like, a lot of times these kind of pruny, grapey, raisin, that level, fruit added can add something really cool to a beer. But for me, it's it's one of those things that tends not to be volumetric. It tends to be a subtle hint of a flavor that is floating around in here. I think the raisins bring a huge portion of the game to this beer and just accentuate everything about it. Because if you think about it, strip the raisins out of the conversation for a second. Brown sugar, Belgian base. You're essentially making a quad / dark, because you're doing brown sugar instead of a beet sugar. You're using that as your Belgian candied sugar, and then you're doing, your base kind of Belgian-esque kind of beer. I'm not going to sit here and say Dogfish Head is known for making fantastic Belgian-based beers. I couldn't really call out anyone in particular that comes to mind that really is stellar for me. And like I said, I cut my teeth on that style, so that's where I really kind of get a little nitpicky. And so there's a little bit of a bready yeastiness here. Nothing too crazy, no big fruit cakey thing like that going on. But it definitely has the vibes of a Americanized version of a double / quad. Dark, not really. It just lacks that malt component to it and the richness in the beer. Now, that Belgian, or the candied sugar, that their version of candied sugar, the brown sugar, I think adds this cool kind of like richer sweetness than what typical Belgian candied sugar brings to a beer. I'm a traditionalist, so I really do enjoy that in a beer, but I think it brings a cool twist to this beer in a very fun way. But I don't think it would be as cool if the raisins will bring those back in the picture now. Were not kind of screaming at the top of their lungs in a very, very beautiful way. Because it's absolutely 100% there. Those raisins are 100% there. And it's a flavor profile that I covet in aged beer. And it's very, very, very hard to, almost impossible to mimic. A lot of times a barrel-aged beer will help you get there faster. Get to that sugar daddy / raisin-y level. But usually it's more of like a sugar daddy thing rather than a raisin-ness. You do get a little bit of those raisin components. I'm typically talking about American or English barley wine, aged old 10, 15, 20-year-old English barley wines. And well, there's those drips and drabs of that raisin in those kind of beers. It's really more of like, you kind of want it to be there and it's kind of sort of there. Here it's there 100%, and it has to be the addition of that. It's aged absolutely beautifully, and it comes off as just this super rich raisin based. Again, I would lean more quaddy double, maybe even in all intents and purposes, it's a Belgian barley wine is what it is. It's a Belgian barley wine. Let's just call it what it is. It's a Belgian barley wine with raisins, and it does it really, really well. It does that cool component, that cool trick really, really well. Because, one thing I know about Belgian yeast, and I don't know a ton about it because I'm not a brewer, but it's really hard to get super high ABV. It's not that high ABV where I can't say those words. It's really hard to get ultra high ABV beers out of a Belgian yeast, traditional yeasts. So I assume they're using some kind of hybrid here, doing something a bit different, or just using that brown sugar as as a consumable sugar to get it as high as they possibly can ABV wise. And usually when you're trying to stress out, and this comes from a lot of conversations with Dennis from Drylog from back in the day, and how to get high ABV Belgian stuff to work, blah blah blah. It's cool that they pulled off not just a cool tricky beer, a very delicious ageable beer. Now, back past me, 2015 me, didn't find this beer all that amazing. I could travel back in time and drink the beer that he's drinking and find it fantastic because our palates change, we change, everything evolves. But what I can say is what I have in front of me is epically tasty. Showcases raisins beautifully well and just comes off as a really cool weird beer, you know, a Dogfish head beer, where they take and be like, we're going to make this thing, but do it this and do it that. They do that trick. That's their shtick. A lot of times they don't land it. I believe they have here. So yeah, back to it. Mouth feels nice. Not going to be confused with anything fantastical. It's an aged beer. If we get anything above nice, we're winning, and we're above nice here. That Belgian base is there, the Americanized version of that Belgian base. A little bit of breadiness, a nice kind of like soft, like little fruitiness that props up that raisin, which is the star of the show. There's this sweetness to it. Again, it brings you into sugar daddy level. I believe that's that brown sugar working with the base Belgian malts. And then once you add that raisin and portion in there, it's a caramel covered raisin. It's not a raisin in it. It's not chocolate. There's not chocolate in this a ton. You could say there's chocolate in there, but it's not something that you're just going to be like, that's one of the leading components in here. It's more of like if you did a undersweetened caramel covered raisin. And that's kind of what's going on here. And it works up fantastically. If this is 18%, I couldn't tell you because it does not drink anywhere close to 18%. And honestly, for a pickup at a discounted price too, I think I got the 4-pack for like 36 bucks. I think these are usually closer to 40, so I'm sure that's not an outlandishly cheap price, but I didn't mind it. Of an aged beer, 5-year-old beer, definitely winning. That does not suck. So yeah, is this one of the better? I don't even know what to call it because is it one of the better Belgian barley wines I've had? Yeah, it's number one because I can't remember last time I had a Belgian barley wine. They class it as a Belgian dark ale. Isn't one of the better ones I've had of those. It would even be a yes with this not even being that, even though we don't adhere to any JCP poopiness. Is it one of the more tastier? Malt forward? Old school? Is it a fun beer? Yes. Would I buy this again? Yes. Do I want to go back and buy the 2019s? Yes. Yeah, we're done. There you go. Dogfish Head. Raison the Extra. Maybe I should have did the Etra with the Extra as a side-by-side, but we're too late. We already reviewed it. Mount Rushmore status on that stuff we already talked about. Value and availability off the shelf, old. If you like what, will you like this? If you like barley wine, if you like Belgian stuff, if you like raisins, you had a baby. This is your jam. So there you go. Review in the books. Raison the Extra. Have you had this beer recently? Have you had it back in the day? Have you had it over the years? Is there a specific vintage you enjoy? Do you hate it across the board? Your thoughts down there. All that fun stuff. Hopefully you enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying some old beer right now. We'll see you next time. Cheers, y'all.